Beautiful day, Patriots. How are you? Pig and I are sitting here. We're working on our. Just started my project again. It's been sitting for about a year. It's winter time. We're getting ready to start carving again. And I was contemplating. I'm trying to put together a video here, but I'm not quite sure how to put it all together. And so another thought popped into my head. I want to read one chapter real, just one verse, real quick, and we're going to talk about something. It's Matthew 17, verse 20. And Jesus said unto them, because of your unbelief, for verily I say unto you, if ye have faith as a grain of mustard seed, ye shall say unto this mountain, remove hence into yonder place, and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible unto you. And this is and that's the end of that verse. And this is a very difficult chapter to understand or comprehend. I do not know of anybody that talks about this, and I want to stop right this minute and put in a disclaimer. I am not going to sit there and try to interpret this. I'm going to go ahead and give a thought concept for you to think about this parable of Jesus Christ, saying that if you have enough faith of a mustard seed, and we know that the mustard seed is one of the smallest, if not the smallest, seed, just so small, that when it grows into maturity, it's a very large tree. It's not a pine tree, it's just a large tree. It's very huge, though. Very large tree, right? And I always was thinking, well, if you planted a mustard seed underneath, the roots and stuff could get underneath the mountain and move the mountain and knock it off. You know what I mean? So, physically, a mustard seed could make a mountain move. Yeah. But like I say, that's just my interpretations, and it just doesn't really seem right. That's a long time to wait to say, hey, move. And then water a seed. Wait. You know what I mean? So anyways, what I want to talk about now is that in counciloftime.com this afternoon, a couple people passed around a video of Israel News Live. And he was discussing and talking about mountains. And everything that we do is a stepping stone on how things are. And much like, did you guys ever see the movie Avatar? Where I believe it was about a big, large, tall tree, and it was like going to be the last tree on Earth, and they cut it down. I don't really remember the whole story or something like that, but it was, a tree that was cut down, and then so there's that tree stump. And then if you go look at, like, say, Devil's Tower, that it kind of looks like a petrified tree stump. So it's going along those lines. And he's talking about giants. And in Genesis 6, our very first Genesis in the beginning, chapter 6, there were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men. Okay, so this was talking about, well, you could read the story yourself if you're interested or not. Yeah, so going back to what we were talking about, how I was going to try to explain. That's not a tiger. It's an underwater scene. It's from the other side. You might be able to see it a little bit better. A sea lion wraps around, tails over here. But it's just in this first carving step of today. Back to biblical things. So they were talking on Israel Live News was talking about that. And what was so amazing to me was the conversation of the people in the chat room. That was the part that was really interesting for me to see, because new concepts are hard to see and believe and grasp. And we don't know our true history. And God bless Michael from around the world, being able to prep people in ways that they might not even realize that he's getting them ready to see things that they may have not been able to be ready for just a few short years ago, or 20 years ago, or yesterday maybe even. I don't know. I know for sure myself that I'm not ready for the next, say, 10 steps ahead of my learning process. You know what I mean? If I knew right this second and just jump the next 10 steps, oh my gosh, man, I would be so scared and maybe not able to function and continue on. I have to play. God has a plan. You plan things out. You work it out. Hopefully everything works out. Nothing breaks. You move forward. If something breaks, it just gets remolded and it becomes something different, right? Just like in our lives with our thought process and our learning process. You just keep going and you keep going, and before you know it, you've completed something and you move on to the next step. And that is knowledge that I'm talking about. So I was really just wanted to say just how awesome it was for the people in the chat room to see things in a different way. Because, oh man, if we go and look at our museums around the world, I'm really going to throw one out there. I don't know why, I just don't know how to slow down. But if we go look at our museums around the world and some of our more larger cathedrals around the world, they have art pieces around in these places, and they have these marble statues all over the place, and they have these marble or other harder stone, much harder stone than marble, of all kinds of things. And what's amazing about it is not only the hardness of the stone, but the absolute detail and perfection of it. And there's quite a few of, well, marble, because it is a brittle stone, marble. It's very brittle. That there is carvings around the world that are, well, impossible really isn't a good enough word to describe it. Nobody can understand what kind of tools or concept they were able to make these marble statues and then have a fishing net draped over everything, or veils that are see-through through them. Okay? Not that the technique isn't there, but the absolute perfection in them, where maybe we're actually looking at something that is alive and we don't realize it. Everything moves at a different time. Some things hibernate, some things. All I'm saying is that we're getting ready to see a brand new story. We're going to step into a brand new, in a sense, reality, because if you thought you knew your history, but then you discovered that it wasn't true, you just don't like stay there at nothing. Nope, you have to then see things, and that's a hard step. That's a hard step, especially if it's being forced on us. And being forced on us is just the exposure of things, if that makes sense, yes? So does a little grain seed of a mustard seed, is it possible to move a mountain? Well, absolutely. Jesus said it is. We just have to think about how is that possible. David said, I can take down a giant. And he walked out on the battlefield with no fear and took his stone and slung it at a giant. And he moved that giant right out of the way, didn't he? He sure did. It changed all history and destiny. So God bless you, Patriots. Keep yourself busy and active in your mind,